Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Thomas. How's it going?
Hello.
Hey, Eloise.
Hello.
How is everyone?
Oh,
Yes, it's very hot in St. Pölten.
Yeah, and I really appreciate actually being out here because while it's hot during the day, it gets really nice during the afternoon.
Mm.
So like natural climate control is something very nice right now.
Yes. Nicer than in the city, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's not necessarily a lot of people most likely showing up today. Yeah, Josh, I mean, yeah, I think we have like reached peak summer. I think it's the great vacation, not great resignation. The good thing though is that going forward, I'll have more time to invest here as well. So I was also kind of kept a bit busy with other tasks. But I think, yeah, let's just go over a quick agenda and look into some updates that we are working on. And one thing I also asked, by the way, if more people are interested to join via the TUC mailing list, we should prepare something, but we would have a wider reach there. But realistically, I think August is not going to be a great month for getting people involved in anything. Like everybody after like the last 2 years is just enjoying vacation whenever they can, which is, I think, totally understandable.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, okay, let me just put up the agenda. I am just having too many tabs open right now.
Yeah. I guess on the general topic, I mean, I've been thinking about this for a while because I've been, trying to contribute. Yeah, I mean, we should all think about how we can help people contribute to CNCF. I feel like it's hard to get, either you're on the talk, and obviously that's a big contribution, but other than that, how can people ask me this, like, and I don't know. So that's just something putting out there. How can people that want to contribute effectively contribute?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's still something we need to figure out. I think it's what will definitely help. Like we get now a chance to, like Lindsay wrote, to submit for, I think, half a day event for Detroit. I think that's definitely going to help.
Yeah, I was also thinking that, like, maybe we can target that as a place to build some momentum and get some participation in our projects.
Well, yeah, knowingly, obviously, KubeCon is like massively booked, but I think it's still an opportunity. So let me see where I have the email.
Another thing which I found out yesterday was that we as a tag would have the possibility to have a booth at KubeCon.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if this makes sense, but I think it would be nice to have some kind of office hours or whatever. So have half a booth like some projects.
I think it could actually make sense, yeah, if we run demos of certain projects. So, and if we're allowed to do that, to be fair, because usually only bigger projects get a booth.
Yes, but I took a look on the guidelines yesterday, and we get one for the tag, and we could apply for one for the tag. So this would
if we
be
have
possible.
stuff to put there, like, I don't know, maybe we choose, like, here's 20 or 30 interesting projects. That might be too many, but that we focus on.
But then I think it would, if we get one, it would also make sense to present some sandbox projects or whatever who don't have a booth, to give them some visibility.
Yeah, but that's what I would clarify with the Linux Foundation, whether they're fine if we do this. So, and yeah, this is the email, just opening up from Lindsay. The request form should be available early next week. Techs graduated and incubating projects have the opportunity to take advantage of in-person meetings. This benefits allows techs and projects to book a 4-hour meeting to discuss project-related topics, features, issues amongst the maintainers. So a 4-hour meeting at KubeCon would actually be pretty massive.
Yeah, that I don't. What do we have to talk about for that long? I don't.
I think we do.
Just say
Honestly,
it's
I think we
YouTube.
do. Like we could like, and it's not just us. I mean, I would almost handling it like a maybe mini conference even, like that we have like one presentation, then people can do like bird of a feather kind of talks, whether it's about multi-tenancy, whether it's operator best practices or pros and cons. So I think we can fill this out 4 hours with some very interesting content. So what I will do, Thomas, I'll reply back to Lindsay that we are interested. But in case anything moves later, as I will be on vacation, to also loop you into that conversation, that we can ensure that we actually get registered for that 4 hours. And I think we can learn a lot about the 4 hours event to like run a bigger type of event going forward.
And will you also cover the part with the booth, or should I do this?
I mean, who's going to man the booth? I think that's the key question. So we should find volunteers to actually be at the booth. And most of us will be running around most of the time. That's what I'm a bit worried about. I mean, that I overall like the idea, but most likely we would only be at the booth maybe during like the evening thingies, where you get like food and drinks and everything, but probably not throughout the day.
I think this is a thing we should clarify for how long we how many slots a booth could have, because I saw in Europe that sometimes two projects shared one booth, and I think for the text this might make also sense to have one booth with 2 or 3 tags.
Maybe, yeah.
Will there be a CNCF booth? Like general, the CNCF as an organization? They like Linux Foundation had a booth at Open Source Summit a couple weeks ago. Just an example. I don't know. I didn't visit it, but
no, I think we would apply as a tag as some other tags would also apply, and they would try to find out which tag uses the booth for how long.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if you could reach out. I mean, I'm happy to help, but given that I'm on a long vacation right now, I'll have a bit of a harder time on follow-ups.
I mean, I'm happy to help if you all want to include me. I mean, I think that all of these things, like if we could, there are more people that would help. I think if we could make this more open, meaning even just getting people's thoughts on what sessions they might present, what they suggest for the booth. I don't know. I just would love to get more. It's so hard. Maybe that's, we don't have that, but maybe just open up a GitHub issue. How can we get more input on this?
Yeah, and I think Josh, what would also help, because we obviously got the chance to submit the session. So Alex and I submitted a session where I can share the abstract, and it's more or less cooperative delivery. It will be fun to get this session actually done because it like covers the entire cooperative delivery lifecycle. I think we could easily bring along another speaker as well, but it might create some interest. So I'm sharing I'll share the outline with you as well. I'll post it here later. That's pretty much like the one we submitted, but this is like cooperative delivery by example almost.
I'm curious. I gave a talk a couple of weeks ago at Open Source Summit. Kubernetes is your cloud control plane, and it was about like using the same mechanisms, GitOps kind of mechanisms for infrastructure, for middleware, for integration, and for apps. I'm wondering if there's some overlap. I don't know what you guys.
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah, we should at least have a conversation. You just submitted it so that it is submitted. I think if we have another speaker there, that would not be an issue, honestly. So I'm sharing it with you right now. Well, I'm putting it into the doc. Then you can.
I'm curious to compare with what I submitted for KubeCon. Maybe there's, let's see how to share.
Okay, let me just put this in here.
Yeah. Oh, you did it as a tag session. Okay, cool. That's kind of related to the other
tag.
topic.
You more or less tag and maintainer tag are technically the same somehow.
Okay, that's fine.
So I should have to link it there now. Tell me whether it works.
I have to request access.
Oh,
So
that's not the way it's supposed to work. Let me just adjust the sharing preferences. Anyone with the link can view. Now it should be better.
Maybe comment. So then if we have some comments. Yeah, sweet. Okay, I'll check this out.
So it's more or less about day 1, day 2 operations. It's like how you build like day 1, day 2 operations on it. I think it's maybe if you can also like share your talk.
Let me share it with you.
That would be interesting. And in many ways, very much interested in that topic. I think we should talk more like how to do. I think that's what cooperative. I think everybody's, as I mentioned, everybody's struggling with cooperative delivery. But how to roll out infrastructure together with applications and do this in an orchestrated way, and which roles operators plays, I think important. What did you actually use? What did you recommend people using, like a full-fledged Kubernetes cluster for management, or something trimmed down like Tinkerbell or Bad Idea or something like that?
I mean, what I was presenting, which is might be a little different, is as open source and standard summit, I'm advocating for the Kubernetes API as the foundation for managing everything. And that was what the speech was about. It was about like, look, let's instead of using, CloudFormation and Terraform and, 10 different mechanisms for managing control, but it's all centered on the Kubernetes API. So it was just showing that you could use the API to deploy using operators. You could deploy, an app using Argo, or using using a Helm-based operator. Basically, that was KRM, Kubernetes Resource Model for everything.
But did you run it on is a recommendation to run this on a like standard Kubernetes cluster or a trimmed down version? Like I used the straight up. That's why I mentioned that some of those projects that more or less are implementations of only the API server with controllers, which I find
so that's the multi-tenancy stuff, right?
Not just this, what I start to see people actually doing is that they have like one cluster that's actually not a real cluster, but it's really a control plane cluster. So it's not supposed to run any workloads.
That's KCP and vCluster are both that.
That's where what I see people doing more and more these days.
Yeah, I agree. That would be a perfect, so the two areas, and that's multi-tenancy. So that's, in other words, the reason people are doing that is and Red Hat is doing that. There's a project called KCP, which is also in the upstream. There's a thing in the KCP prototype in the Kubernetes Slack. It doesn't stand for anything, but it really stands for Kubernetes as your control plane, I think. And it, like you just said, it doesn't have a scheduler. So it delegates the work out to child clusters. Like vCluster does the same thing. It doesn't have a scheduler. So the actual scheduling of pods happens in a host cluster or vCluster.
But the only challenge I always had, can you schedule? You most likely want to deploy an operator also on the control plane layer.
Yeah.
and you want to schedule
easy.
control plane containers. Just the API server without
Yeah.
being able to run a controller is kind of not ideal.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works. Yes, I know. There's somehow there are CRDs and these operators provide. I don't know how it. Do they have to run them in the children somehow? I don't know. That's a little. I haven't gotten that deep yet, but yeah, I hear you. You might have to run something in the control plane. Need to get the vCluster folks on here.
Yes, it might actually be an interesting way how to run a control plane cluster for full stack infrastructure management. That might actually also be a good topic to have them properly present what their ideas are. Because I see this pattern kind of emerge, like having a control plane cluster. And I overall like the idea, but I don't want to run a super expensive cluster that has no workloads, or even prohibit like running workloads on it. I mean, I could do it. I could just restrict the cluster down so nobody can use a kube control apply against it. But at the same time, I can't just run the API server by itself.
Yeah, so I pasted in there KCP. You might want to check that out.
Yeah, just have it open. So okay, it's
this actually kind of
0.4.
What?
Mm.
Yeah. And this was in the conversations about, here's my blog that in the conversation about multi-tenancy, which, I mean, what you're saying is I think that's why I am picking up on the multi-tenancy. Like, it seems like that stuff is emerging and people are starting to think like namespaces are not the right way to break up tenants, or at least their clusters have some big advantages. That's why I would love to pick up this article and talk about that stuff in there, you know.
Yeah, I have the article open right now.
And maybe that, I mean, the other topic
Graph text is below, okay.
What's that?
So the draft text is the actual article, right?
Oh, this thing that I just posted in?
Not the one that was in the meeting in the agenda.
The one that this blog post, Clusters for All. That's a good one for you to read just for helping. I don't. If you that's.
I was looking at I was looking at the tag app delivery multi-tenancy article.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, that's not the one I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about that too. This is where we're working as a tag to put out some opinions. Nobody's really touched this for a few weeks now, but Alex led an initial brainstorm. I've dumped in a bunch of stuff. I do have some time clearing up, so I maybe can hammer out some pros, you know, for us to build from here. This is just a bunch of notes at this point.
I think it would be just good to have it maybe and send it around. So maybe not like necessarily get too much in detail, more like what we want to touch the topics while actually presenting solutions, so that we can really get people interested, share on Twitter and other, usually Twitter, LinkedIn, so that just get more people and like even sharing it with a wider audience.
Well, we suggested this blog that was like 2 months ago or 3 months ago, I think at this point, this blog that I just published myself, like we could publish, I mean, it's too late now, maybe do something else, but we didn't really have a venue to publish it ourselves. So that's why.
I created a simple blog site on the GitHub repository. Just a second. We'll try to find out where it is. It's here. So it's not pretty, but it's here.
Oh, nice. Yeah, thank you, Thomas. I didn't know about that. Okay, so that's backed by a repo in github.com CNCF?
I think that's backed by the CNCF tag app delivery repo.
Oh, cool.
So there is a branch for the blog.
Oh. Well, that's super cool. All right, well, I didn't know that was there.
Yeah, I think that's actually great. Just we should try to get the URL, maybe URL slightly nicer. That's maybe something to ask Chris, if we could get something like cncf.com app delivery or something.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of like cooperative delivery, I think there's an opportunity, like maybe something similar, like put a stake in the ground, even if it's like, this is not saying either any of these cluster options are, we're not choosing any winners. It's just, hey, let's start the discussion. Maybe cooperative delivery, we should do something like that too. What we all envision, because I think Alois, I think you and Alex might have more, you have some strong opinions. I think you maybe, I don't know, that's the impression I get from when it started up, a year or so ago. So
yeah, we have also some other like talk to Max from Liquid Reply. They're doing a lot of multi-cluster, multi-tenancy work.
I meant cooperative delivery, like what
yeah.
the ideas that some of us had, a year ago
Yeah.
when we started that, let's get them down on paper maybe.
Yeah, I think we always, the challenge that I always had, I think we had like conceptually, we all agree on a mental level. We just were struggling to put it into writing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the idea is like, how do I ship more or less full stack from
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure to app, including pretty much everything, and how to do this in an orchestrated way. And that was where like also Thomas was involved, where we'll discuss lots of the problems that arise there and a lot of the open questions. The good thing, a lot happened in between, like projects came along, or well, they were technically there, but got more popular, like Backstage, Crossplane, and others that play a vital role in this area right now. And then we had like some people that joined that kind of like were convincing everybody that cooperative delivery is a good name.
Yeah,
I think just nobody has an idea what cooperative delivery actually means.
That's probably an indicator of the problem. We don't have a good way to express what we're trying to do.
I think we don't. I think that needs maybe another round. I think we conceptually understand each other, but we have, I think, still an issue to like do that 1 minute elevator pitch for cooperative delivery that we would need to do. I still think that multi-tenancy perfectly fits in there, and if cooperative delivery is only working on this topic, it's fine. And also like listing projects for different tasks might be also like a nice, like as you like refer to, like listing projects, what they can be used for, like maybe putting this into another blog post. Okay, this you can use for infrastructure provisioning. This is what you can use for application provisioning. And providing some options. This is what you can use as a service catalog. So that might also be like a starting point there. So
I hear a theme from us that we want to publish, thought-provoking articles. So maybe that's like, that seems like a thread here. We should just make sure that blog site that you set up, Thomas, is as we want, and then start adding some stuff there as we can. I mean,
well, I think it's thought-provoking. I wouldn't necessarily say thought-provoking, but I think we get people to participate if we describe a problem that they're having. You will get vendors always to participate if they believe they have a solution in projects. I mean, quite obvious. But obviously also get end users contribute if this is something that they're working with.
Right. So you're saying the goal is to attract interest. Is that what you're saying?
I think that blog is actually great, and we should try whether it can get some reach. Maybe because it's under your name, it's just a thumbs up from you, Josh. Whether you find with what Thomas published.
I mean, I agree. I would rather be published more broadly. My blog has gotten some hits. I actually got an email from somebody from Loft who corrected something in there. So he said they were getting redirect over there. But yeah, please, let's get it somewhere else. If the goal, it even mentions in there, please come to this issue and
and so if you're fine, then we just, because we also have the Twitter account that's not massively used, but we can still start using it and at least sharing it with other people to get some more visibility. And I think this is kind of great. If you work on these topics like smaller blog posts. Also, like maybe doing one for operator V2 white paper, like what
Yeah.
what we're working, because this is easily shareable and
Mhm.
it allows us to engage with people. Let's see where it takes it, but I think overall, I think people have too many meetings, and like async work is probably better unless people really want to discuss something.
No, I mean, it seems like most of these things, one person writes up the core, then gets a lot of feedback, maybe significantly changes it, and then we go from there. So I mean, the main thing is, somebody pick one up, each person. And then, if they want to talk in, they could come to these meetings every couple of weeks if they really want live feedback or.
Yeah, what I've very often seen is like you start something because you have an idea and you're kind of slightly too broad on what you're working on. Then it cools down entirely. And then you might narrow it again. Somebody else has the time to like push it like over that critical mass so there's enough content, and then it kind of keeps going. So I think we're like in this natural cycle right now where it just apps, we know it is important. That's why I wouldn't give it up, honestly. But maybe just right now, like focusing on multi-tenancy, there's already something there. And try to push for this. It seems to be more of a topic, as you mentioned, and then make this what cooperative delivery is working on right now. That for me is totally fine.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can do that. We don't have to, we'll just leave it. I mean, we don't have to close the Ouija or anything. Oh yeah, that was one I was gonna throw something out at you all and see what you thought. Integration. I've been thinking more and more that it's really just integration in a different form. You're trying to get your app out there and connect it to databases and connect it to identities and have it running in the right cluster. It's about it's slightly different than integrated microservices, but it's integrating capabilities. And I'm always reminded of Martin Fowler. He has an article somewhere that says you can't buy integration because like somebody has to get it all working together. It feels like similar issues here. How do we bring all these pieces together seamlessly?
Isn't this what Service Catalog should actually take care of?
Well, what do you mean by Service Catalog? The old Service Broker?
No, Service Catalog's like something like Backstage.
Oh. Well, I don't know. Like Backstage can help you provision 15 different services, let's say, but does it help you actually integrate them all to work together? Like,
oh, okay.
I mean, it probably does. I mean, I assume it's got some functionality, but that's what I'm getting at. Like we're trying to figure out, okay, I've got a cluster here, a database here, a certificate management system here, a pod scheduler here. How do I, as a developer, push one button and get that all, working together, as opposed to having to talk to 5 or 10 different people and coordinate, passwords and URLs and who knows what.
But I think that's one of the issues which indeed the service broker dealt with.
Yeah,
So,
service broker back in the day.
So on.
Yeah, for sure. But that's kind of, I mean, Open Service Broker is kind of dead. I think they even deprecated it in Kubernetes, the support for it. So and maybe that was but that's exactly what we should write. We should write like Service Broker was, an option for this. We've kind of, for whatever reason, decided as an industry to move on from that. We've got operators,
Yeah, I think I think we should bring up those topics and have those discussions. And even for the time being, if we just keep like bringing up like how do you handle this, and also not everything is service provisioning. especially talking multi-tenancy. So if I want to have a Postgres database, I usually don't want like an entire database. I usually want my own table space and my
Right, I
own
don't want a
users.
DBMS.
How do I provision actually services on top of actual service, like more or less virtual type of services that I really care about, and I don't care about the underlying implementation. Because technically, I even don't care what the thing is running. This could be a cloud provider's service as well.
Yeah, or like a topic. I don't give a darn if it's Kafka or Rabbit or whatever. Just give me the equivalent of a topic and an address that I can send my message to. Yeah. Okay. I'm just putting that in there. So yeah, my takeaway here is I'll try to hammer out in the next few weeks. It's always famous last words, but I really have some time the next few weeks. I hope I can hammer out an article here. At least that's something I can, you know, as the cooperative delivery lead, at least do that.
Yeah, I think also like asking people questions, how do you do this? I think is totally fair.
Like include in there some breadcrumbs, like, hey, this is an idea. What do you think? You know, come chime in.
I think a lot what people are doing in the app delivery space is very much custom made and tribal knowledge these days. With Kubernetes coming from this infrastructure background. I mean, it's technically provisioning services with an infrastructure focus, not so much with an application focus. And there might be people who argue against it, but if you come like from a pure application focus, usually where an application is different. And to be fair, a lot of projects were struggling, even other implementations were always struggling with the concept of an application. But there was also, by the way, very interesting in SIG apps. So I recently joined SIG apps. Mitch Connors from Istio brought up looking into a CRD for progressive delivery, because there are massive issues on the application side. And just paraphrasing some of the topics there, like how can I even define application health in Kubernetes? Because you can't define it on a pod level. You can't define whether the pod is fine or not. But pod health is not application health. Pod health more or less means it's ready to accept traffic. It doesn't mean it's doing what it is kind of supposed to do. Like a card service that always returns 0 items, but does this very reliably, is still running as a pod, is still fine, but as an application is actually not running fine. Like even defining this today is not like really possible. And then you could think, okay, how can you like add health checks that go beyond this? Which then it's also interesting, because usually the Kubernetes approach to an unhealthy pod is you just like shut it down and start a new one, like more or less throw it away and try again. But you can't do this for an entire application. You can't just rip an entire deployment or however you want to structure your application, throw everything away and hope it's coming up again. So like managing application health, I think is a very interesting concept as well when we talk about app delivery. Like, how do you even know that your Kubernetes application after starting it is healthy? And there's obviously different approaches, how different rollout tools, how like Flagger is looking into it, how
OpenCruise comes to
Argo
mind.
is looking into it. But it is a challenge. I mean, and also what's the mitigation action? It can't be rebuild everything or roll back everything. If just one failing service, there must be something more better to do it. And the question is an operator the right answer? That would make a really complex operator.
It feels like we have to better gather up the application components, and then we will be able to aggregate the health of all of the components. It will be one big red-green at the top, but then break it down into other components. But right now, we don't have a great way to correlate all of the components that participate in an application.
You can use tags.
Yeah.
but even this is like
Fixing
super
annotations.
tedious. And health, usually you need kind of like a synthetic test to run against it, or a look at observability data. Otherwise, you don't know. You just know that they basically all started up successfully, but you don't know what they're doing.
I see. Okay, well, that's a little different. Okay, so you're saying even if I knew all of my components are up, I still just know they're up. I don't know that they're functioning. Okay.
Which for a progressive rollout is like kind of the key.
Yeah,
If I start to route traffic there.
right.
Again, this was just another example where we could like work on something. So I'll share the presentation that from Mitch. I think it's really interesting. I'll just put it in here.
Yeah, this is actually
I
this is
would
one of
have
the
asked him to
ideas that-
present here, but right now there's not so much to actually present on, as we don't have that many people joining. So I'm questioning a bit how much it would help today.
Yeah, it's always chicken and egg. That was actually one thing that I was thinking about is should we like the things like say I just need a table space or I just need a topic or I want you to issue me a cert, you know, can we infer those things, or can we suggest annotations or labels that, you know, admission controllers and operators could queue off of to, you know, handle the integration that is not there. I'm wondering, yeah, that doesn't address what you're saying though.
Yeah, so I think I'm trying because I'm now starting to join the SIG-Apps meetings infrequently.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
So yeah, I linked it. So I think it's an interesting concept. And is it an interesting problem? Which you start to have if you look at something from an application level.
Okay, it's going, I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's cooperative delivery's first issue, but it should come up as part of an integrated application. Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff we need to call out.
Yeah, but it might also, I'm just trying to find topics, also like talking about engagement. I think people are usually willing to engage and to work with you on something if they see that there is actual value in the day-to-day work. If they look at something, okay, it's like one of the topics that we're addressing,
I hear you.
we should be handling better, like reading the article. I feel like, yeah, there is some work to do. Then you kind of get involved because you want to improve your own infrastructure deployment. I think that's how we can get people working on something, because otherwise, if it's like super abstract what you're working on, it starts to get kind of hard.
It's good feedback from me. I like the big abstract ideas. So make sure we have concrete things to pull people in.
So actually, we got a lot of topics covered today. Thomas, anything on operator 2. Version 2?
No, not at the moment. So we gathered some topics until now, but we didn't do anything in the last few weeks, I think. But I hopefully will get started in the next time.
Okay. Yeah. I don't remember if anything else, otherwise I would like stop 5 minutes early.
It was
All
good
right.
to chat.
Yeah, thanks.
If that's okay.
I know you're on vacation, Alois, and we don't have so many.
I'm not on
better-
vacation. Thomas is on vacation.
Oh, sorry, Thomas. Okay. Well, good to chat. And
I'll be on vacation in August. That's why I will be a bit quiet in August.
okay.
All right.
Till next time. I'll see you online.
Till next time.
See ya. Bye-bye.